This video is brought to you by Squarespace. So, following a heated team principals meeting at the Canadian Grand Prix, Christian Horner joked that Lewis Hamilton should cast his Mercedes boss Toto Wolff in his upcoming F1 film. At the Friday meeting, bosses from all over the paddock were present to discuss a technical directive introduced by the FIA to combat porpoising. After a Grand Prix weekend spent bouncing in pain at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, some drivers welcomed the change. However, there were many who opposed the FIA intervention or specific elements of the directive, including executives from Red Bull and Ferrari. According to Horner, the meeting proved dramatic as he accused Wolff of using what he described as theatre to push for a change in regulations that he says would favour Mercedes. I think there was an element of theatre going on in that meeting. Maybe with Lewis's new movie coming along, you could get Toto involved in that. As a meeting, it was a shame that, I'm trying to pick my words carefully here, obviously Ferrari presented its position regarding the TD, and Toto is campaigning for change in regulations, which is somewhat ironic because his car looked quite quick in Montreal with not a lot of bouncing, and I think it was just pointed out to him clearly that perhaps his issues were within rather than it being everybody's issue. Now, Horner's stance on the FIA intervention remains unchanged, with the Red Bull boss opposed to changing regulations in the middle of a season. He maintains that Mercedes' problems have nothing to do with flaws in the new F1 rules for 2022, which have resulted in stiffly set up ground effect cars. Instead, he believes the problem stems from Mercedes making a mistake with the concept of its W13 car, which only performs optimally when driven very close to the ground. The issue with Mercedes is more severe, or certainly has been prior to Canada than any other car. That surely is down to the team. That's within their control to deal with that if it's not affecting others. I know it was said other drivers have been complaining. Our drivers have never complained ever about porpoising. They've said certain circuits could do with tidying up, perhaps resurfacing in places, but we haven't had an issue with bouncing. The problem is they're running their car so stiff. I think their concept is the issue rather than the regulation. Horner was unimpressed with how the FIA intervened in the matter by issuing a technical directive on the eve of the Canadian Grand Prix. Squarespace gives people a powerful and professional online platform to create your own website. Connect with your audience and generate revenue through gated members-only content. Manage your members, send email communications, and leverage audience insights all in one easy-to-use platform. Create a community on your Squarespace website with a fully integrated commenting system that supports threaded comments, replies, and likes. Use their powerful blogging tools to categorize, share, and schedule your posts too. Extend Squarespace's already powerful e-commerce capabilities with Squarespace extensions. These new third-party tools can help you manage inventory, promote products, streamline bookkeeping, reconcile and file sales tax, and ship items across the globe. Display posts from your social profiles on your website. Automatically push website content to your favorite social media channels so your followers can share it too. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/pitstop to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. As teams were traveling to the event, he also shared other teams' concerns about how Mercedes was able to fit a second stay to its car so quickly, sparkling speculation about whether or not the German car manufacturer was aware of what was going on. There is a process of these things to be introduced. I think what was particularly disappointing was the second stay. It has to be discussed in a technical forum, and that is overtly biased to sorting one team's problems out, which were the only team that turned up here with it, even in advance of the TD, so work that one out. The FIA will meet with technical directors to try to make progress on the porpoising issue as part of a medium-term plan to give teams more ability to manage things starting in 2023 through rule changes. But Horner is skeptical that anything drastic is required, believing that by next year, all teams will be on top of the situation. You've got some of the brightest engineering talent in the world and things will converge. I doubt we'll be sitting here next year talking about the bouncing, even if the regulations are left alone. These cars are still relatively new. I think as teams add developments to their cars, you'll probably start to see them start to address some of these issues, and you just can't suddenly change technical regulations halfway through a season. If a car is dangerous, a team shouldn't field it. It has that choice. For the FIA, if they feel an individual car is dangerous, they always have a black flag at their disposal. Now, despite the drama, Horner expects Mercedes to be at the front for at least the next 2 Grand Prix, which will be held on circuits that the Red Bull boss believes will not suit the RB18. Formula 1 will return to Europe next month for the British Grand Prix, followed by a series of races in France, Austria and Hungary before the summer break. Red Bull returns to their Milton Keynes headquarters just 20 kilometers from Silverstone with 6 consecutive Grand Prix victories. However, Horner believes that the races in Britain and France will be the most difficult yet, with both Mercedes and Ferrari expected to be at their best on the smooth, high-speed tracks. I think Mercedes will be strong at Silverstone, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be at Paul Ricard. I think Ferrari will be quick at Silverstone as well. It could be more of a challenging circuit for us just due to the nature of its layout. It's incredible that we put a run of 6 race victories together, but Silverstone could well be the most challenging yet. Now, Red Bull's incredible winning streak is only surpassed by Sebastian Vettel's incredible 9 straight victories as he romped to his 4th title in 2013. McLaren holds the all-time record for most consecutive wins, having won 11 races in a row with their all-conquering MP44 in 1988. I would love to continue winning, but with every race it gets harder. When you think of the swing in the championship from where we left Australia to where we are today, just shows how quickly things can move. I think Max has hit a purple patch of form. The car was a bit more to his liking now as well. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell finished 3rd and 4th respectively, making the Montreal performance the team's most competitive race of the season in terms of pure pace. This has fueled speculation that Mercedes is on the verge of finally challenging pacesetters Red Bull and Ferrari, particularly as F1 moves to high speed and smooth circuits like Silverstone and Paul Ricard, which should suit its car. The message from Mercedes, on the other hand, is much more pessimistic. Team principal Toto Wolff is remaining cautious, recalling how similar levels of optimism after the Spanish Grand Prix vanished quickly. One swallow doesn't make a summer. We saw that swallow in Barcelona, but somehow it flew somewhere else. I think we need to be careful. We were off the pace on Friday. In the wet, we were good, and I think that was respectable. And I think that in the race, at times we're with the quickest cars. In the second stint, Lewis and George were almost matching the front runners. They were not quite, but on some laps, yes. That is very encouraging to see, but we just need to be careful. There's so much work we need to do in order to be back at the front, and we're not there yet. For Hamilton, who took his 2nd podium finish of the season after finishing 3rd in the season opener in Bahrain, the result has boosted his confidence for the rest of the season. It's given me and the team a lot of hope. I think that there's more to come from this car. The potential is truly there if we can get the setup right, and I think that's been the most difficult thing this year, really trying to optimize the setup. The window for this car is much smaller than any car we've experienced. So, one of the biggest takeaways from the Montreal weekend, according to Wolff, was seeing Hamilton finally have a weekend where circumstances did not conspire against him. Wolff welcomed a more straightforward delivery in Canada after a number of events where bad timing of safety cars or minor events harmed him. There are a lot of races that it worked against him, where he could have scored a podium or a much better result, and it was not his wrongdoing but bad luck. Seeing him now on the positive side and being on the podium without anything in a way gifted, that's good to see. Mercedes' porpoising problem has been a great metaphor for the team's ups and downs this season, with their pace fluctuating greatly from venue to venue. Former Formula 1 turned TV presenter Martin Brundle believes Mercedes' current form is bewildering to everyone, including themselves. The Mercedes teams are so confusing for everyone at the moment, including themselves. On Friday, Lewis declared the car was undrivable, which is indeed exactly how it looked, and in a Sky F1 interview he strongly intimated that it was now about making the best of a bad job for the rest of the long season. Team boss Toto Wolff said similar things to me in an interview, having described the car as a S-Box just a week earlier. Despite this, Brundle is optimistic about Mercedes' chances at the upcoming British Grand Prix. Once again, there does appear to be a good car under that shrink-wrap bodywork, and they fancy their chances at Silverstone, which is next up. So, what are your thoughts on Mercedes' chances in the coming races? Should Christian Horner be concerned? Do you believe Lewis Hamilton and George Russell exaggerated the bouncing problem to gain an advantage under the FIA's technical directive? What should the FIA do when the paddock is so divided? We'd love to hear from you in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to click the bell button to be notified of future videos. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/pitstop to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.